So I think that brings us back to the fundamental question. How does one distinguish between a religious movement and a spiritual movement? For that matter, between religion and spirituality, because there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
People take spirituality as religion and vice versa.
Yeah. And I think there needs to be some clarification about that.
That's right.
And I'm glad that you asked me that question. Well, interfaith movements have really been the initiative of religious traditions, that means particular religions, to promote understanding and tolerance for their particular faith. Now, what the Global Peace Festival Foundation has done in terms of our interfaith movement is, instead of promoting any one faith tradition, we promote universal principles and values that come from the vision of one family under God. Now, these universal principles and values runs as a common thread in all the faith traditions. For example, most people of faith recognize the importance of living for the greater good. Whether you're Muslim, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're Christian, whether you're Jew, yet many times we neglect that and use our faith as an instrument to hate or even fight against, as you're seeing what's happening on the global stage, others. So this is really bringing back to the fore the importance of the fundamental principles that run as a thread in all the major religions. So our platform of interfaith is very unique in that it's not promoting any one faith tradition, but promoting universal principles and values based on this vision.
So this misconception between religion and spirituality is all about lack of education. Would you say that?
I think it's easy for people to kind of mix those two up, but if I have to explain it very simply, when we talk about spirituality, and this is our interpretation of spirituality, because other people can interpret that word in different ways, but this is the way I interpret that word is. It is not advocating any particular dogma or tradition, but it's talking about the universal principles that govern our life of faith or our spirit or our spiritual essence. So these are first principles, if I may kind of clarify.
If I understand you correctly, if we take just those fundamental values from the religion, and that can be a spiritual movement. Is that true? Movement. If we strip the dogma out of religion and simply take the universal values of, let's say, love, compassion.
Well, I'm not advocating getting rid of religion. I think there's a lot of people of faith out there that are very genuine. What I'm saying is that especially those faith traditions, is there's so much that we have in common versus what we have different. A lot of times religions have a tendency of focusing on our differences to promote our own particular faith, right? But given the context in terms of the world in which we live today, where religion is actually being an instrument to justify conflict or struggle, this is really where we as people of faith need to recognize our common platform, which 80 to 90% we hold in common. And so the reason why the Global Peace Festival Foundation's initiative in interfaith, focusing on these universal principles, have had such broad appeal is because people of faith, and even those who say, I'm not associated with any traditional faith tradition, they recognize this fundamental point. And so it's really about building a common platform, if that's understandable.
Dr. Muth, how would you define peace? Is it simply an absence of violence, or there's more to it?
I think to say that peace is simply the absence of violence is a little too simple. I think peace is far broader than that. I don't want to be too esoteric or too philosophical here, but it is really cultivating in the heart a desire to be altruistic and to live for some greater good beyond myself. That's what peace means. From my background, I like to say it's true love. It's the culture of true love versus false love, which is really self-centered True love is an altruistic love of living for the sake of someone else. So a fundamental to bringing peace is this cultural center, cultural paradigm. And that is one of the reasons why the Global Peace Festival Foundation has a trifold platform of interfaith, family, and service. But through the service component, we are really emphasizing the culture of heart, which instills in a character education component with the transformative experience that one gains through serving others. So I believe peace comes with not just transforming one's mind, so you don't want to do violent acts, but to change your heart, to wash your heart, so that you truly want to live for others, you truly want to be altruistic.
As a spiritual and service leader, what are your suggestions for peace in Nepal? Do you believe that there's one solution for all, be it Kenya or Nepal?
No. I think the most important is there has to be ownership here. In other words, Nepalese need to recognize that it's not going to be somebody from outside who's going to come and change your circumstance. It's going to be Nepalese. But how we can aid in that process, we can help frame the issues so that you know clearly what the issues are to help pull yourself out of the quagmire that Nepal is in and establish peace to the point where there can be a land that has co-prosperity as well as opportunities for all. So I believe first and foremost is a sense of ownership that needs to take place. And I'm seeing it all around this country, especially in the stadium yesterday with those thousands of young people that were crazy with the vision of one family. I'm seeing that they want to take ownership. I think right now what needs to happen is they need to be given the opportunity and to be the leaders that can be the change agents for this nation. But yeah, the first step is you need to take ownership, stock of your life.
Do you believe that peace can be won simply through political consensus, or there should be meeting of minds and hearts between people? Can you imagine lasting peace in the absence of one or the other?
I think you're asking a very good question, and this is relevant to even America. I flew here to Nepal from the United States. I mean, in the United States, what's happening in the United States right now? American people have lost faith in the political process. So they're taking charge over the course of their nation right now. You're going to see a tremendous sea change in terms of political power in the United States come these elections in November. At the end of the day, in a democracy, political parties, politicians are servants of the people. At the end of the day, not masters. That's not how a true functioning, well-functioning democracy works. Political parties, as well as political figures, are servants of the people. That's our modern sense of democracy, not the other way around. Not the people are servants of the political parties and the political individuals. So I believe that, especially young people such as yourself, I mean, you're a young man, especially well-educated, can make a huge difference in this nation, because democracies are messy. And fundamental to establishing a good democracy is a well-informed and educated citizenry that is able to utilize the power of their vote to create the type of nation they want to live in. If there is ignorance, then you open the door for demagoguery or possibility of a nation moving in a direction that people really don't want to move in. So I think fundamental is the need for education, need for leadership, especially by those Nepalese that have the wherewithal to understand the issues. And most important is the spirit of altruism that comes from wanting to live for the sake of something bigger than myself. In this case, if you're a Nepalese, for the sake of your nation. you have bigger aspirations beyond Nepal, then for the sake of this region of South and Central Asia. If you have bigger aspirations than that, great, and for the sake of the world. It is those people who have moral and innovative leadership that will make the difference.
Pastor Moon, you are the founder of Service for Peace and recently Global Peace Festival. I think both of which have become a global phenomenon. But at the same time, you're also a business leader, a spiritual leader, a service leader on the one hand, and business tycoon on the other. Do you sometimes feel that you're two different people living inside one single body?
No, I don't think I'm two different people living inside one single body.
How does this two reconcile?
I know that there has been some kind of myth that people of faith should be mystics and live up in the mountains, which is fine for some. But there are also other people of faith that engage the world in which we live and try to make it better. I guess you can say that I'm a person of faith that want to make the world in which I live better for my children and my grandchildren, and for the children and people that I consider to be members of one family under God. So I believe that whatever I was able to accomplish in business gave me the capacity to be able to give back. And so I do not look at that as a negative. I look at that as something that is positive, and I want to encourage others to utilize the blessings that are given to them for the sake of greater.